Hey, it's Neal Brennan. It's the Blocks Podcast. My guest today, you're going to be glad he's here. When you saw his name, you're like, oh, fucking, I like that guy. He's an extremely likable guy. And he's going on you're a lifer. You've been at it. You've been in shit. You've been in shit for a long time.
Yeah.
Like shit that people like. Sometimes. Yeah. And
I like some of it.
Yeah, well, you know, who's gonna like all of it? Office Space.
What would you do if you had $1 million?
2 chicks at the same time, man.
I would do nothing.
Sex and the City.
I love you, Carrie.
Band of Brothers. Loudermilk. Fucking bunch of shit. Ron Livingston, everybody. Ron Livingston. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Everyone in showbiz, like I look at you and I go, he was also in Drinking Buddies. I look at you and I think like, he's probably like was in a bar near Wrigley Field and got discovered. You just seem like a real regular guy.
That's half true.
Is it true?
I was at a bar near Wrigley Field.
No one discovered you.
I used to live there. Yeah, I was not discovered.
Okay. But then and it's like, oh, you went to Yale drama school.
Yeah.
So like, or not drama school?
Not drama school.
Aha. All right. That's where the wrench. Okay.
That's very, very, very helpful though when you're like 23 and you're like trying to break in and
people don't know the difference.
People don't know the difference.
Yeah.
And I never corrected anybody.
Why would you? Now they do a takedown piece of how you lie.
Yeah, I could never.
This
be
is the 90s where nothing
president.
was trackable.
Right.
Also swingers. I want to talk about swingers as well. My point is everyone in show business is even the people that are like character actory are still very good looking and intelligent and talented.
Well, thank you.
Meaning like Steve Buscemi is considered like a schlub, but Steve Buscemi's pretty good looking if you've seen him in person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's like movie star schlub.
Yeah, like if you're in an environment where everyone's beautiful, you are disgusting. But if you're on Earth, he's a pretty good looking guy.
Yeah.
And I would say you're a very good looking guy, but in movies you just seem like, hey, he's regular.
Yeah,
like, you're not regular. You went to Yale, you're good looking, you got a
Everyman.
Yeah, you're an everyman. So I guess my question would be, we'll just go. I have got questions about the stuff you've done, and then we can get into your blocks. So you move out here from Iowa.
Yeah, by way of Chicago. I did 3 years in Chicago.
Okay.
After college.
And what were you doing?
You know, I think I was chasing like the Steppenwolf thing that had happened a couple years before.
Right. You were there in the late 80s, early 90s?
Well, I got there in 1990.
Okay.
So it had kind of flown the coop.
Right.
Like Steppenwolf was still there, but there weren't like
But Malkovich and Gary Sinise were not there, yeah.
No, they were in LA. And I was chasing the John Hughes thing because he had made a whole string of movies there. He wasn't there anymore. You know, it was great. And if I'm honest, it's because a good buddy of mine, I just didn't have plans on where I was going to go. And a good buddy of mine was like, you want to go to Chicago? And I said, sure. That's kind of a trend in my life is lack of planning. A lot of times leads to opportunities that are sometimes dubious and then sometimes work out really well.
Okay, so you come out. Then I heard of you in Swingers.
Yeah.
Part of the reason that I moved out here is because I saw how well you were doing, and I figured that if you could make it, then I could make it too.
I didn't make it.
It's hard to explain to people how remote making a movie was back then. But I remember hearing about the movie and then seeing it, and it was a real low budget, and it's basically just you guys all being charismatic. Story's pretty thin. But it's just, I don't know, it just worked.
Yeah, it was lightning in a bottle. I thought they were all going to be like that. And it was kind of one of those just serendipity. I'd met Jon Favreau in Chicago at the very tail end while I was there. We worked one of those industrial gigs together, like in Captain Crunch suits. That another buddy of mine, you know, like hilarious chapter. But we both happened to be moving to LA kind of at the same time. And I knew maybe 2 people and he was one of them, and he knew maybe 2 people and I was one of them. So we hadn't really been that close in Chicago. We just sort of knew acquaintances, but when we got to LA, we kind of connected and we're trying to help each other set up and stuff. And he knew Vince. Vince was the other person he knew because he'd just done Rudy. And the Swingers, we first became aware of it in that John wrote this script and he was trying to sell it.
And it was like, hey, I wrote a script. I'm trying to sell it.
I wrote a script, and it's kind of about our dynamic and that stuff. And we spent about a year just helping him do readings for people that would potentially buy it.
Yeah.
Nobody bought it, but we spent a year basically rehearsing it. And then Doug Liman kind of discovered it on somebody's coffee table and said, oh, this isn't a $2 million movie. I can make this for $250,000. I can make this for $250,000. And I think I have a lead on where we can get some of that money. So all of a sudden it was happening, but it was happening for scale. So sort of one by one, John was like, well, if that's all the money that it's going to take and that's all the money that's available, we can't pay anybody to do anyway, so I'm going to do the lead. And then one by one, he just got the rest of us into it. Yeah, so then it just, that one was one of those, you can't, when people go, so what do I do to get started in Hollywood? I'm like, well, you could do, I don't know what to tell them.
Yeah, it's like I was in an accident.
Yeah, I was in an accident.
And that worked for me, so maybe get into it, I mean, but that happens kind of in a lot of cases where it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, you want to?
You're standing there. Somebody says, "Can you do this thing?" And you say yes. That to me, that's the big lesson of it. Is when somebody says, "Can you help me do a reading of my script and read the stage directions?" And there's no money in it, and for you, and you can't possibly be. You can say yes or no, and a lot of times yes is the good answer because why not?
Yeah. And what else could you be doing?
Right. You can sit at home.
Yeah. Play video games. Which, again,
we did that anyway. We did it.
Right, and it was also great. Okay. So that does well, and Vince gets a massive explosion from it.
Yeah.
Vince is like, hello, congratulations, you're a movie star.
Right.
And I would also argue, well-deserved. Because if you see, literally, I watched a clip of it recently. I was like, I can't believe how handsome he is. And a fucking motor mouth.
No. She was smiling at how money I was.
And it's like incredible to watch. It's like
he just jumps off the screen.
Yeah.
And then continued to do so. And and that's just him.
Yep.
And it's John recognizing that that. Yeah. How can that not work?
Yeah. Then do you get a pop from it?
I got enough of a pop where it was like, okay.
Yeah.
I got that pop.
Just being in a movie back then was something.
Yeah.
Like you were in a movie and it wasn't, I didn't want you to not be in it. Right. So that's good.
Yeah. I had now a credit.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of went from being on the list of people that could audition for things, but then ultimately they couldn't actually hire you.
Yep.
To you can audition for things and I guess if nobody else does it, we can hire you.
Great. Which is huge.
That's an enormous jump.
Office Space.
Let me tell you something about TPS reports.
Yes.
Is that sort of a
couple jumps? Yeah, that couple jumps later, and that was another similar thing. How many episodes of this podcast have you done?
About 100.
Yeah. So there's a thing where if something lasts long enough, eventually it comes around to you because you run out of everybody else.
Right. That's
what happened with Office Space. Mike Judge had this movie, never done a live action movie, wrote it, wanted to do it. Fox, he was making Fox $1 bazillion on King of the Hill. They wanted to keep him happy. They wanted to let him make this movie. They had two diametrically opposed ideas of what a movie was and what the movie should be. So he wanted to cast sort of a nobody who didn't look like a movie star. Hello. Fox wanted to cast like a movie star. And those two circles did not intersect anywhere in the Venn diagram. They didn't. Yeah. So they saw probably every male actor in Hollywood, and one side or the other said, no, that's not the guy. 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 And then by the time they got to me, as like one of the very last people on the list of guys to look at, the Venn diagrams had morphed just close enough together that Fox was, they got to a point where they're like, all right, we don't care. We're just doing this to make you happy anyway. So go make your movie. And if you want to use that guy, use that guy.
Yeah. And it's small budget, right?
I'm 12, 13 million.
Oh, it's not tiny. Yeah.
No, not tiny. It looks small budget because that's Mike's sensibility.
Yeah.
It looked a lot better until he walked around the set and tore all the
So funny, yeah.
all the stories. But so that was just another really, on the one hand, it's serendipity because you happen to be in the right place at the right time. On the other hand, it's like, well, the reason you're in the right place is at the right time is because you've been standing in that place for, 10 years now, like waiting for something to happen.
Yeah. What year was that? It was 90?
That came out in 99, so I think we made it probably 98.
Okay.
98.
It's one of those long tail movies where it doesn't open especially well, right? Or did it?
No. It tanked in the opening. It was one of those where getting it was a huge coup. As it got closer to coming out, it was clear that Fox was just kind of dumping it.
Yeah.
So that did nothing, and then it just started this slow ramp of like returns where it just kept. I think what it was like home video really started coming into its own and being a thing,
especially for comedies.
Especially because
me and Chappelle made Half Baked back then, and it was like didn't do well at all, and then slowly but surely. And Sandler's first Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison didn't do well either, and then slowly, and then on video it was like, have you seen this?
Yeah, and were you guys on Comedy Central? Because that was another huge piece
of it. We got on Comedy Central like wallpaper, and then we did Chappelle Show based on kind of like, well, this keeps doing well, so. Did you resent that art? Because it doesn't really help. It doesn't really help you. The only thing that works is like huge opening. It doesn't matter how it does on DVD or home video. It's like, did it open? Then you can do other stuff. So if it doesn't open, what happens?
Not a lot. You kind of realize the gains of like, oh, you have a better agent now based on you booked it and they think something's going to happen. So you're still the spaghetti that's kind of getting thrown at the wall in some things. I don't know. I was naive to a lot of that stuff as it was happening. I wasn't really a student of the game of the game.
Right.
So a lot of times I didn't.
By the way, it doesn't help.
That. It
doesn't help to know, but what can you, either people want to watch you or they don't.
Sure.
So I think like knowing where to packaging and all that stuff is kind of like,
Yeah. No, I just mean like the mogul part of it of like this, and I can leverage that into this. And I was just kind of a little oblivious to it. I was amazed when I saw the movie because I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
And I hadn't expected it to be good based on what it seemed like the fact that they were dumping it. I was like, I guess it must not have worked.
Yeah.
So, I was just really proud of it.
Great. And were you like, oh, I was good?
Yeah.
Like, good.
I was.
Yeah. Because it's not, being the star of a movie is not like it's not a hard, like it's hard, like, like digging ditches or something, but it is a weird thing to be able to be in almost every scene.
Yeah.
And like cut to you and you're like, what am I doing now? I'm interested in this guy for some reason.
Yeah, it's it's a little like getting shot out of a gun.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, as a kid you always dream about being an NFL quarterback, but I think if they like stuck me next Sunday out there on the field and snap you the ball, like that's kind of, I would, you know what I mean? It's hard to know what to do.
You don't know what your body's going to do.
Doing,
yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. So there's a lot of that feeling, even though a lot of it is
the hard, okay, what if somebody finds himself the lead in a movie?
Yeah.
What advice would you give them? It's a very broad question, but to the point of like, being an NFL quarterback. I actually direct commercials, and I did one for Lowe's with a bunch of Dak Prescott and all this.
So what's the coverage?
It's easy. Toucans, Dallas Cowboys, Navy.
That's a big play.
And I was asking Dak, like, during the game, are you like monitoring yourself and like, are you going like, I fucked that up? And he's like, no, there's no time. He goes, I will like on Monday or Tuesday, but during the game, you cannot so you can't really, the self-talk has got to be forward moving. What's the movie star version of that?
I'd say, and it's going to seem a little cheesy, but it's 3 parts. 1, take a deep breath.
Okay.
Just take a deep breath, you know? You gotta take, that's,
yeah.
Because then you go from like,
yeah.
Got to start there. 2 is be yourself. That's all you got right now. Can't be somebody else. You got to be yourself. And number 3 is just do whatever it is that got you in this position right now to be doing this. You did something to wind up here.
Are you aware of what that is?
Not necessarily.
Or were you aware back then what you like when you watched the movie? Were you like, oh, I'm good at X?
Yes, I knew. I understood. I just understood Mike's sense of humor. I understood that. I understood that character.
Did you see yourself as a Mike surrogate? Meaning like, I'm representing...
No, sometimes I have. But Mike's background was like completely, like Mike was a bass player. Mike was...
Right, yeah.
I had done, I was a computer guy, so I understood a little bit of software engineering, but he'd actually like been a software engineer. The piece of it that I understand is that like my survival gig for all those years was I was a temp secretary. So I'd worked in every office you could imagine. I'd worked in law firms. I'd worked in like insurance firms. I'd worked for, I did mail in university. So like I understood that in a way. And I just also understood that like that humor of nothing works and everything. Like I grew up watching Oliver Hardy do those slow burns.
Yeah.
Of just, just like. I just knew that.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the part of it that I understood, and I just said, I'm just going to do that.
Would you walk us through a typical day for you?
Yeah.
Great.
Well, I generally come in at least 15 minutes late.
Yeah, it's all sitting with you. You are good at like, what's going on? Like if you had a musical note, it would be like, so what's happening? What are we doing exactly?
Yeah.
Why is this?
Which a lot of it's just kind of like, because there's 2 things. There's like, what would I do if I were in this situation?
Yeah.
But even that kind of involves planning. There's a lot of planning that goes, what would I do?
Right.
And if you don't have that capacity to kind of necessarily do that plan or remember that plan, you're sort of stuck just being like, okay, what's happening?
Yeah.
And now you're just doing the thing that you would do because you don't have anything else planned to do. So now you're just doing that.
So was that was the lack of prep? Do you see yourself as like, you didn't prep for that at all? Or was it in it like you would judge it, except it worked?
Yeah, I had a lot of things like preparation, the kind of preparation that like I think it takes to write a novel or
outline.
Yeah, an outline and time management and da. The only 2 things that have ever allowed me to, and I can deep dive, but the only 2 things that have ever powered it are curiosity, like, oh, what's this? And I'm going to spend 10 hours like trying to understand that while people are, yelling at me that I'm late for something, or just sheer panic because something's due in an hour and a half and I forgot to do it.
Yeah.
And then I can like deep dive there. So
that brings us to one of your blocks, by the way.
Yeah. Yes.
Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. They scour the globe for original handmade, absolutely remarkable things. Somehow they know exactly the perfect gift for every single person you know. Here's a few of my favorite gifts that I found on their website. I talked about this before. I got a viewfinder for my girl's kid from the olden days, where it's like a viewfinder and you click it and like a new thing comes up, but you can load in your photos. He's mind blown by the 1970s technology. He loves it. I didn't wait till Christmas. Sorry. But yeah, but I was actually impressed by the amount of like, oh yeah, that. oh yeah, like it's one of those catalogs where you're like, oh cool, and it's obviously just knock it all out. Go here, knock all your presents out. When you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. Many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches, so shop now before they sell out this holiday season. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/blocks, BLOCKS. That's uncommongoods.com/blocks for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Well, the cold is officially here, and guess what, suckers? I'm living it in the perfect gene. These bad boys are super stretchy, soft, and totally trick people into thinking I got my life together. Am I telling you this because I actually love them or because this is an ad and the Perfect Gene team paid me to say this? What difference does it make at this point? What isn't an ad? Everything you say is some kind of an ad for you or how great you are or what a jerk Steve is. These jeans are great. I do okay in money. I don't need to endorse a jean that's no good for me, but I'm not wearing them now because I'm traveling. But back at my home, I wear the jeans all the time. Listen to me. The Perfect Gene is the perfect fit for everybody, and we mean everybody. They've got 6 different fits, waists running from 26 to 50 and lengths from 26 to 38, which means there are over 5,000 possible combinations of pants for you to choose from. The Perfect Gene doesn't stop there, though. They've revolutionized T-shirts as well. The Perfect Tee has just enough stretch to hide that beer belly while accentuating your arms and chest for that flawless look. It's as soft as butter without shrinking in the wash like your other tees. It's just perfect. Our listeners get 15% off your first order plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use code NEAL15, that's NEAL15 at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectgene.nyc with promo code NEAL15. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our little show here and tell them we sent you. Fuck your khakis and get the Perfect Gene. Executive functioning. Oh boy. The first time that's come up on the show, it's very exciting. We're about 100 episodes in. No one has specifically mentioned executive functioning. What are your issues with explain to people what executive functioning is, because I didn't even really know what it was till a few years ago.
Executive function is when you're sort of the CEO of your own mind and your own attention. Mm-hmm. And you get to decide, okay, now I'm going to pay attention to this. Next Thursday, I'm going to block out 2 hours. I'm going to pay attention to that. We're going to get this done. I've got, it's like multitasking. It's planning ahead.
And sticking to the plan.
Remembering that there was supposed to be a plan, kind of all of the things that, I don't know, I think people with good executive function don't even necessarily know that it's a thing. They just know how frustrated they get with those of us who can't do it.
Yeah, and also, you're dealing with constant rejection or constant disapproval from people.
You feel like you're letting people down, like all the time. Oh shit, oh God, I'm sorry, I didn't do the thing. Oh, what? Or even when I'm on it, there's a constant loop. It's exhausting because there's a constant loop of like, what am I forgetting? Mm-hmm. I know I'm forgetting something. I have my keys. Yes, I have my keys. I have my wallet. All right. Do I have my phone? All right. What did I have where am I? What did I come in this room to get? Shit.
Yeah.
I got to walk back out of the room now. I got to go, which room? Okay, I have my keys. I have my wallet. Glasses. I need my glasses. It's that constantly, even when there's nothing you forgot.
Yeah.
Even when you have everything.
Well, you don't trust it. I'm bad with names, and even if I'm good with names, I'm like, his name's not Ron.
Yeah.
It's Don.
Yeah.
Neal, what are you talking about? It's Ron. You're sitting. Yeah, but you got that confused.
Similar.
Yeah.
I have that too.
Yep. Great. Even better. By the way, you've looked like Antonio Banderas a couple times during this interview.
Wow.
Have you ever gotten that? When you look this way, I was like, it's fucking Antonio Banderas.
I'm going to take that.
Don't call him Antonio. You're married, and that's got to be very frustrating for your wife more than anyone, I would assume.
She loves me. She really,
sure.
No.
Say take nothing away.
No, she loves me, and she, I think she gets it, and I think she gets it more over the years. And I think something here, like this is a hilarious one. We do this one. This is a little loop we do where she's like, okay, I just want to go over the schedule for the week. And I'm like, all right, I got to go. Let me get my computer because I got to type it into the thing. And she's like, no, I don't, not right. I'm just really saying it for you so I can say it out loud for me. And I've kind of learned to go, because you're going to say it. And then tomorrow when I ask, what are we doing? You're going to say, we talked about it yesterday. And I'm going to say, yeah, but I told you I wasn't going to remember any of that.
Yeah.
So now we have to set aside these times where she's like, okay, so tomorrow night. And I'm like, click, 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 tomorrow, click, click, click. You know, like that. She's just got to wait for me. It's like dealing with like someone.
Was there like a rock bottom for executive functioning? What's the biggest one? Or is it just a lot of small ones?
No, it's a lot of small ones, and some of them are good. Some of them are really good. Like you used to have the student nightmare where you forget to prepare for the test. Mm-hmm. You get there and I haven't done it. I haven't done it. That happened to me in college. I got there for like, I don't know if it was a midterm, but it was like maybe one of 3 tests for the semester. I got there. I realized I hadn't studied for it. I didn't, it was like in the count. All the nightmare things. I walked up to the professor. I said, gotta say, I forgot the thing. I just didn't da-da-da. And the guy was like, okay, come back and take it with the other section on Thursday. And I never had the nightmare again because it was like, oh, that's it?
That's funny.
That's all it is?
That's funny. That'd be like a good therapy.
Yeah.
Like because the truth of the matter is nothing's as bad as you imagine it will be.
Yeah.
And nothing on earth has ever been as bad as you would imagine. I mean, maybe a horrible accident.
Right.
But
maybe being set on fire.
Yeah, that's like gotta be. But maybe like you go into the thing where your body goes numb and you're just like time slows down and you go, how do I put?
Yeah.
Because you hear those things and you're like, oh, this seems. Your body figures out a way to manage it. Yeah. In those cases, but also the worst case scenarios are never. There's always like a reasonable person there. And it isn't dream logic of like, no, you're in trouble. Like,
or they are, and then you're like, all right, I guess I'm going to get a D in this class if I'm lucky.
And I still am at Yale.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, that's interesting that you never had the nightmare again. And did it with the wife? It's just like you've figured out how to manage it.
Yeah, we figure out how to manage it.
Does it ever happen on shows or movies where you don't?
Here's the thing that's so great. I know that I can't be the only actor. I think it might be an actor thing because you are so micromanaged by somebody else. They don't let you walk to the bathroom without sending like a 20-year-old to like follow you there.
Yeah.
Because they don't want you to disappear. It costs them tens of thousands of dollars if it takes an extra 45 seconds for you to get back. Mm-hmm. Your day is charted out. There's a little piece of paper that says every single thing you have to do that day and in what order. Mm-hmm. You're treated a little bit like a toddler with respect. A little bit. You're treated exactly like a toddler. So for that part, it's actually quite easy.
Have you ever prepared a scene and then you were doing it different? They switch schedule or
all the time. But that time, sometimes it's usually when that happens, it's not on you. That's just because they switched the things and they do that.
And then you just go like, I'm going to try to get it together. And
if you're bad at executive function, chances are you've spent your entire life scrambling to do things at the last minute, and you've gotten pretty comfortable in that sort of realm. Because it's just that's where I live. I live scrambling to do things at the last minute. So we're scrambling to do something at the last minute. Awesome, and it's not my fault this time.
Yeah, like motherfucker, I live here.
Yeah, I love it.
Do you find that the more you prep, is the amount of prep correlated with the quality of your performance? Because it doesn't necessarily have to be.
No. Not always. And, granted, there are performances that you see people do that it's like, Meryl Streep worked 6 months to do the Polish accent.
Ich bin eine Polin.
Like that involved some planning and some foresight and some work, and that had to go. Or like somebody got a Marvel movie, and then the next thing you know, they show up completely jacked.
Yeah.
And that involves a certain amount of, you can't do that at the last minute. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah. Well, let's hope you never get a Marvel movie, huh?
Yeah.
Let this be the announcement that you're not interested.
That's not true. I am interested, and like this podcast, it might be the kind of thing where they just. They circled
that.
Around. There's somebody that they like cast now.
I reject the notion that you're my 100th. I had a list of people. I had a list of people. You were on my list of people I wanted to speak to a year ago. By the way, I've also heard Meryl Streep did a crying scene and used fake tears.
Okay.
So like, there is like the 6-month thing, and then there's also just I don't know. You got any of the fake tears?
I'd need to source that because, no shame on that.
No, of course not. But I'm saying like,
me if Meryl,
I was shocked,
couldn't dial it up.
But some days you can't do it.
Yeah.
One of your other blocks is a good one, which we've had a few times. People pleasing.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I think some of it comes from just like Midwestern, church-going folk, be a good person.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it's like good person.
Yeah.
Which is kind of different from like enabling people pleasing. There's certain kind of expectations that you're supposed to be. And sometimes I get caught in that.
Bending over backward.
Yeah. Or like, I am going to step in and put on the cape and take somebody else's thing on, even though it's clear that that's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help them. It's not going to help you. You're not going to solve it.
Can you think of an example that wouldn't implicate anyone?
People who just like can't figure their finances out, and you kind of keep floating them.
Yeah. Has never worked. I don't want to say it's never worked ever, because clearly, like, people take out loans and da-da-da.
Yeah.
But if there's no stick to get it paid back,
there's always like a healthy. I think there's always a healthy boundaried way to do it. And what I've come to is, all right, what's my relationship to this person, right? What's the amount of money that I'm happy to flush down the toilet right now or set on fire in front of them as
right now,
a gesture of how much I care about them. If it's somebody that I've met on the street, I've never seen them before.
$20.
Yeah, I can. Okay, $20. I will set $20 on fire, so that maybe this person can change their life around from where they are now with this $20. I don't know. Maybe they can. Maybe they can't. Maybe someone I've known a long time, so now that is $150 or whatever. And then I think you just say, okay, I'm gonna give you this. If I don't get it back, that's the last. If I get it back, it's yours I'll loan it to you whenever you need it. And maybe if the relationship, if you seem really good at this, maybe that number will go up. I don't know. But I think you can't keep chasing it, and you can't solve, you can't fix the thing.
Have you gotten where you were like, let's co-do this? Like, let's figure out your
Yeah, and that usually doesn't work.
Especially when you got no executive functioning.
No.
You're the last guy.
I mean, sometimes you can. Sometimes it's like, you know what? I'm going to step in and I'm going to parent this fully grown adult, and we're together. They're going to develop.
Besides my real parenting, my children
Yeah. And usually I've realized that that's an inflated, like it's two things. That's like, well, this is what I was taught I was supposed to do. And it's also a very, very inflated sense of ego that all they really need is 10 minutes with me.
Yeah.
And all of my amazingness and my brilliant, I could teach them anything, it's silly. It's silly. And you look dumb at the end of it.
Well, that's the fun. The older you get, the more you realize, like, I can't save or help.
No.
And but it is ego. It also, when you said that Midwestern church going thing, part of me thinks like people are only good because they have to be. Like, if there was no church, I mean, I almost think that's oddly, like, for someone who was an atheist for a long time, me, I believe that the lack of church has actually hurt the country in the last 30 years.
Sure.
In a weird way, in like insidious ways. But
yeah.
even though molestation, all the huge downsides and the homophobia, all the stuff that was built into faith-based organizations, how good would you be without church?
No, I and it's like, what part of it? I think the part of it that I would agree that we haven't found anything to necessarily replace it, is the part where a community comes together to say, there's stuff that would make all of our lives better if we could just do a better job of doing it for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we sort of are humble enough to know that it's maybe bigger than any one of us, and maybe it's bigger than all of us. And we're gonna fail at it, but we're gonna keep trying.
And you're also gonna belong.
We're gonna belong, and there's a piece of like, it's belonging in the community, but it's also belonging in the universe. I think there's a piece of spirituality. There's just a way of connecting, I think, to the universe and life in general. It's not exclusive. It doesn't have to happen within like a dogmatic religious framework, and then we have to go to war over who's right and all of that. It could happen over here, over this. It could it could happen. I think the flawed way that a lot of people accessed that over the years was through religion. And as people move away from religion for some really, really, good reasons, they haven't really necessarily found their way back into that from another back door.
Yeah.
And it just kind of leaves you to get preyed on by like some other values of like, I need nicer sheets,
Yeah, sheets or literally podcasters.
Yeah.
Or
where do you rank in the,
but it's also they become your spiritual leader. And then you believe everything that they believe, more or less. And also getting together, being together is a big thing that I think is lost.
Yeah.
Thanks to Live Nation and people.
Yeah,
I'm charging so much for anything getting together, any sort of concert, whatever. But there's fewer groups. There used to be more. There's a documentary on Netflix called "Join or Die." It's a bad name, but it's about the guy who wrote Bowling Alone, the book Bowling Alone, and about how like they're just civic groups used to be good for the fabric of society. And they're gone.
We're a social animal. And I think we've been sold this bill of goods of rugged individualism, which is like, no, you need a Sony Walkman. You get your own pods. You get your little glasses. You don't need all those other people. You're going to go read your own books and strike your thing and be your island, blah, 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 blah. And it's just so profoundly lonely. And I think the best piece of evidence that we need something more is all the crackpot shit that people get woo-woo about, the craziest shit people get woo-woo about. And it's ridiculous, and none of it resembles each other, and it can be this and it can be that. To me, that's just evidence that like, wow, we really must need something in this, that we're willing to contort ourselves this far to kind of seek some kind of connection to each other and the world and universe and existence at large. Like there's something there that we need. It's not just like carbohydrates and oxygen and water and Wi-Fi, Yeah,
it's connection and belonging is the big. Do you do anything in that regard?
Yeah, I think it starts with, like, again, I'm not great with a practice. I've got some practices that started with like artistic processes that once you start talking about them, they sound a little crazy, because like words like Jungian and somatic.
That's individual though, no?
No, it's like group.
Oh, really?
Well, the way I do it is in a group. You do it with other people, so everybody's kind of working on their individual stuff, but you're maybe working on it.
It's a therapy or it's a work thing?
No, it's like a work. It's like a both. It's like it's not a medical therapeutic but it's like a dream work. It's like a dream work practice.
And you guys get together?
and we get together and do it. My wife's at a retreat right now. Actually, I'm holding down the fort with the kids. But yeah, it's a way of working that I kind of found myself in through my wife, and maybe 15 years ago, and it really opened up like the next chapter of the way I work and make it more personal. And I was able to kind of because it gets boring. You know what I mean? You do the same thing for the same reasons, and it gets boring. It's like I'm still trying to, get girls to like me by, I want to, this is boring.
Status.
I can't, this is dumb. This is dumb. It's really dumb. You realize what you do is dumb, but you still love doing it. Yeah. So now you need a new reason.
And also you're like you're pot committed. You're like, I have no other way to do this. I have no other way to make a living. Yeah.
I got to keep some of this alive.
So I'm assuming it's not all actors. It's artists.
There's actors, writers, some like musicians and stuff. But that's like a very sort of rarefied version of it. I think there's like little versions of it that are just like when you get your groceries, instead of like just look the cashier in the eye. Mm-hmm. Can you just like hold their gaze and not a creepy way, or maybe in a creepy way.
No, but but you're
like little micro connections with other people in the world. I think go a long way towards healing that thing.
Is like, hey, you're human.
Yeah,
you're human. Okay, I'm a human.
Like I don't know. Did you guys do? To kick it back to church, I remember there was always the part of the service where you turn to the person on the left and you shake their hand and go, "The peace of the Lord be with you." And the peace of the Lord be with you. And the peace. And if you're like really showing off, you get out of the row and you go 2 rows up. Like you do that, and it's like this weird. Okay, we do it every week.
It's funny because there was something about it that was like, if you're in high school, it's like a fun time to it's like a little party.
Yeah.
But there is something nice about it's like introducing yourself to somebody.
Yeah.
Obviously it's church, so you know everyone, but like if you're at a party, I was at a house party the other night and it was people I didn't know, but if you're at somebody's house party for their birthday, you know that you are connected.
Somehow.
And then you're in the kitchen, you go, "Hey, I'm Neal. Nice to meet you." And then it's like there's something fortifying about it. Now, at the same time, I've had things where I've tried to do it and it's so rare now, people are creeped out by it. This is maybe a bad example, but I was at a grocery store and a woman bought a thing and she was like futzing with her money, and I knew her because she worked at the grocery store and she was there on her break, I guess, buying something. And I was like, I'll pay for that. Like,
oh, sure.
And she was like, she literally goes, "What? Why?" And I was like, I don't, and the long answer was because I didn't like that you're spending money at your work.
Mm.
But I didn't have the like wherewithal, the presence of mind to tell her that. Yeah. So I was like, I don't know. She ended paid and whatever. And she was kind of like put off by the whole thing.
Sure.
But which I understand.
That's a boundary. That sounds like a boundary issue,
yes,
of the money. That wasn't necessarily just the fact he tried to connect with her.
Yes, it was really just trying to connect with her, though. Yeah. But I did it the wrong way.
You put the cape on. And she was like, "I don't need the cape."
Yes.
Take the cape off.
Do you remember the term Captain Save-A-Ho?
Yes.
Yes. I literally came back into my consciousness a week ago around that, where I was like, you were Captain Save-A-Ho with all the money stuff.
Yeah.
As well.
What's that fool name? Captain Save-A-Ho!
Hey guys, the older I get, the more I invest in my health. I don't want to just look young. I look pretty young. I want to feel young, and I'm getting there. Recent scientific findings demonstrate that it's possible to not only slow down the aging process, but actually reverse it. That's why I use Cell Being by Verso. It contains scientifically proven ingredients that target the root causes of aging, avoiding the whack-a-mole approach that other supplements do. It contains NMN, resveratrol, and TMG. And together, these ingredients turn on longevity pathways in your body to help fight the effects of aging, repair damaged DNA, improve metabolism, and boost NAD+, and so on. I've been taking it. People have been telling me recently I look better than normal, which I can figure out a way to take that the wrong way. But I look okay. So I've been taking the Cell Being, and I gotta say, I actually can feel better. I wake up better rested. I can work out a little longer than normal. I know, well, it doesn't look like it. Shut up. I feel like I can eat. I'm like hungrier, which I like because I like eating, and I don't, it's not blowing me up. Another thing, when I take supplements, sometimes I'll notice like brain fog. None of that. Feel good, feel clear. Verso publishes third-party testing from each batch produced to guarantee you're getting what you pay for. That's a big deal because a lot of these drugs you could be getting absolute garbage. Shake, as we used to call it in the weed days. Click the link in the description or head on over to ver.so, that's Verso, ver.so, and use coupon code NEAL at checkout to save 15% off on your first order. It's good. I promise you it's good. Use it. Use it. Be like Uncle Neal. Use it. ver.so. You have another one, a good one, perfectionism.
Yes.
Is it similar to the people-pleasing thing, or is it?
Yes. It was really important for my dad that I be excellent at things. That's how I got to Yale. Like, I got there because that was something that was important to him.
And he made sure you did your homework. He made sure.
Yeah, I could just tell that it was something that he was, and it wasn't like a family where like that's what he did and you're carrying on the tradition. It was a family where, it had this kind of social upward mobility piece to it. It had this, and a lot of it, I think, it was like his understanding of his own self-worth and self-value and what makes a person valuable. And I think, your parents, if you're in tune with them and you're empathetic with them, and I think that's the superpower part of being like a people pleaser, is to be a people pleaser. You have to be really in tune on what people are feeling. I just took that on.
Did your brothers and sisters?
Yeah, too. I think
because they're pretty successful as well.
Yeah,
right?
I think we all took a little bit of that on of like, and you just inherit, you inherit the stuff a little bit, and you're like, well, it's like second best is shit. That's a family value that I learned, was that second best is like pathetic.
And was it ever explicit, or was it just understood?
Yeah, it was explicit every day. Every day was explicit,
Yeah.
And sometimes in that gentle way of, we go around, it's like I'd come home from wrestling practice. I was a pretty good wrestler. And in Iowa, where a lot of people are really good wrestlers. And, and there was this sort of daily debriefing at dinner of like, how's practice? And really what it came down to was, are you the best one in your weight class? And the answer was always no, I'm not. I'm, again today, not. And so it was something where, once you internalize that, what I figured out was, it's important to do the things that you're really good at, because those are going to be your moments to shine. And the things where you're starting at the bottom, stay away from that shit, right? Stay away from that shit. So to me, that's the perfectionism piece. Is really crippling, because you just get cut off from so many avenues of things that would like bring you joy, or that you might actually develop. Like,
you might end up being great. Yeah. You just you can't weather
and you're not going to try it, or you're going to try it.
Take the 6 months of sucking at it.
Yeah, and I've actually had some, like, there's been some. This is my. I'm in a dad band. I'm in a band.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I played piano lessons all my life. Not all my life. I took piano lessons as a kid. Fits and spurts. Throughout the years, I would come back to it. Something I loved. It wasn't performing. It was like me in a, room with headphones on or something like that. It didn't. And then in the last couple of years, I kind of found I got this opportunity to like join a elementary school dad band. And
when they asked you didn't have any kids,
it was terrifying.
And you were like, I gotta get some kids to get into the band.
Right. It's
like 90s comedy ensues.
Yeah. I gotta pretend. yeah, so I got a couple of those things where I find myself in completely new territory, to circle back. And I think that's a good sign, especially when it's something that I will always be profoundly mediocre at. I will be.
And yeah, that's a funny thing that I think I'm pretty guilty of meaning I said to my girlfriend, I was like, I don't like doing shit I'm not good at.
Yeah.
I think that's why guys prefer work to relationships, because like we know how to do work.
Yeah.
Relationships are like, wait, what do I have to do? It's like it's like fish out of water.
It's so hard, and the rules keep changing, and it's like, yeah.
So you've been in a relationship. So yeah, that and you've gotten as much joy from that stuff.
More. Like,
because the expectations are low.
It's so great to be a fairly shitty keyboardist in like a dad band that our goal is to be surprisingly good. You know what I mean? Like, we're better than you would expect us to be. That's our goal. And
you should do mediocre solos on mediocre keyboard.
Yeah,
Ron Livingston, and then you just do like a kind of okay.
I'm trying to crush it every time, and it's like 9 times out of 10, I'm going to go down in flames. But it's like I don't know. There's something that's been. It's been really good for me. It's been really exhilarating.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
that's cool that you've like gotten over. I mean, does it still flare up?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't go. It doesn't go. It's just like this one. You know, when you get the package and it's got that cellophane wrapping, and you spend 10 minutes turning it over, trying to find the corner to get it started, and you're too lazy to get up and get the scissors and actually get it started, and you're
bite it.
You do that.
Cut your finger.
I feel like a lifetime in, there's maybe 3 or 4 things where I've like started to get the corner of the cellophane up, and it's like, and there's just something cool about that, because I never thought I was going to get this fucking thing open. And now I feel like, I might actually get to open this box and see what's inside.
What are they?
The dad band is one.
Just being in an adult band that isn't supposed to be famous or good.
Right.
Great.
That's the training wheels, right? Like, that's kind of what allowed me to do it, is like, there's an out. It's funny if we're only so good.
Right.
There's only so good we can possibly expect. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. But with those training wheels, now you get to rehearsal, and like, we all want to be really fucking good. You know? And we indulge that, and we're like, we're going to be as good as we can possibly be.
Yeah. Well, that's every band.
Yeah, that's every band.
And then some of them, like 8 of them were good.
Yeah, but I would never have given myself permission to be in a band. For the reasons that I could not guarantee going in that I would be successful, seen as cool, you know?
Yeah.
So like I didn't allow myself to do that for the first 55 years of my life.
I wanted to talk about that you guys you have 2 adopted kids?
Yes.
How did you come to that, and why didn't you torture your wife's body with IVF?
We did.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, we did for years. And we did until we could bear it. We could bear it no more. And man, that was it's funny being on the other side of it.
Of IVF.
Yeah.
Of like having
other
tried
side
it
of IVF and having adopted kids and having the family. There's like, I'm of 2 very distinct minds. One is like, what the fuck did we spend all of that energy and heartache and resources and time and misery chasing that thing when this was available all along? We could have just skipped all of that and just jumped to this.
Yeah.
You know? And at the same part, you're very cognizant of like, because if we didn't, we wouldn't have gotten these 2 kids. We would have gotten 2 other kids.
Yeah.
And it's so clear that like, these are the kids that, I was born to father.
Mm-hmm.
These are those kids. And I guess, somewhere somebody decided that while I was waiting for them to show up, I would have to spend, my wife and I would have to spend 7 years of our lives making ourselves miserable to get there. I guess that's just how it went. And then I look at it and go, well, I guess we learned some things along the way that are valuable. But man, that was hard. It was so hard. I have, it's funny. It's like that secret, because people call and they want to ask you, they want to talk to you about it. And you have this secret, which for me was that I know what you're going through is really, I know where you are. Mm-hmm. I've been there. I know what that is.
The sort of middle passage
the IVF,
of
the infertility stuff, the whole it's just not working, and you're doing everything you can.
Self-judgment.
And and having been on the other side of that grace of, because I met both my daughters at the hospital, right? They're both adopted from birth, so with each of them I have this crystal clear moment of just seeing them and having the thunderbolt, the flood. I don't know what it's like if you're biologically related. I can't, it's hard for me to imagine that there's another level beyond the one that I got to experience. Maybe there is. I don't know. I don't need it. I don't need it. This is extraordinary. But I also know that if you had told me that when I was 2 years into the 7 years of misery, I'd have been like, fine. Oh, that's nice. That's so nice for you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's, so that's one where you just, again, you realize it's like people are going to go through what they're going to go through. They're going to decide what they decide. They're going to come out of it how they come out of it. It's going to work. It's not going to work. I wouldn't do it any other way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it any other way. And we went from, it was pretty clear we were not going to conceive biological children together, but it went from a place of now we were worried that maybe we would, because we didn't want that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We didn't want that for our adopted children, to introduce a biological child into the mix and now have.
You were so worried you moved out of the house, right?
Yeah, exactly. Fortunately, I didn't have to. So that's the wonderful thing about physical infertility, is that just usually it stays with you.
What a blessing.
Yeah.
The funny thing, because I have my girl has a kid, and I got to think that the mechanics of parenting are no different.
No.
So, and you wonder how much of this is just proximity, how much of attachment is proximity.
Yeah.
Of just I always say watching parents and kids, it's like they're cops on a stakeout, where they're just stuck together.
Yeah.
And you're just gonna bond, I think.
I think what I realized was there's a system that, the human animal has evolved to create new biological kids, right? To make sure that kids, and there's a system that has evolved whereby those kids get raised and taken care of, and treasured and valued and whatever. I thought they were the same system. And so I thought if this system didn't happen, this system was not going to kick in. What I kind of came to realize, and I was incredibly surprised, I was sitting in the hospital waiting for my daughter, resigned to the idea that this is going to be good.
Right.
It'll be it's going to be great. I'm happy. This is what I wanted. And it's going to, and it meant I just might not get to do, I might not get that, and so I don't have that. Yeah. But this is going to be great. And then
close second.
Yeah. The flood of this made me realize, these fucking systems they're not connected at all. They're not, I don't think they're tethered. I don't think there's anything, maybe there's something, because I guess you hear stories where people come out and they find out like, oh, that's not my kid, and now they write the kid off, and they da-da-da, and they do that. So maybe that's a piece. Maybe that's a biological piece. Maybe that's not just like a, social piece. Because it happens the other way too, where people are like, oh, I found out that's not my kid.
But
that's my kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my thing, is that I realized I didn't understand it as well as I thought I understood it. And I had gone through all the kind of rage. You go through the rage that you go through. Say, fuck you to God, and I'm done with you.
You're not even a good God.
Yeah, you suck. You suck at being God. What are you even doing?
Yeah.
And then to have God just kind of quietly shut up and take it, and then turn around and give you this gift. It's fucking transformative.
And
it was transformative in my life.
Like before and after.
Yeah.
I think, to put what you were saying another way, when you said they're not tethered, or aren't they the same system?
I don't think they are at all.
Meaning, like, it doesn't matter how you get there.
Meaning, like, there's a system in your car that puts gas to the engine, and there's a system in the car that tells the toll authority how much to debit your account when you drive through the lane with the things. You would think those systems are connected and they have something to do with each other. But the truth is, if you're on a moped and you drive through the lane with a little transponder, you're going to get a bill in the mail for the thing, whether the gas went into the car or not. Like, they're not. Yeah. To me, that's a really extended, stretched metaphor. Thank you. I was kind of amazed that it's like, oh, the part that I feel like I miss out the most of is the part where I try and imprint myself on my kid, because God damn it, they should be just like me.
In utero, or in the first year and a half?
Like in my whole life, like now.
Oh yeah, and I guess you're not looking for what's you and what's your wife.
I'm reminded at every single second, because also my daughter's Mexican American, my daughter's Black. Like, every single second of every day of looking at them, I'm reminded of the fact that it's like, this person is their own person. This is not me. You know what I mean?
Which is probably better.
Yeah.
Than this person's me and I have to fight for the good stuff
Because I think that's actually the case with all kids and all parents.
But it's not obvious.
If my dad had been able to look at me and maybe have a little more of that, I'd have 6, I might not be sitting here, but I might have 6 other blocks that I was working on instead of the ones that I'm working on.
Do you feel, as a person in the entirety of your life, like, do you feel like you have a lot to work out? Do you feel like you have more to work out than most people?
Maybe I did, but I'm running out of time.
But yes, of course. And then you're like, well, that wasn't a real thing anyway.
No, I don't think more than, I definitely don't think more than.
Do you think everybody has about
the
same amount, and some people are aware of it and some people aren't?
My kid's school had this sort of, we're telling you 3rd grade, and this is what your kid's going to learn in 3rd grade, and this is the curriculum, and this is how our philosophy. And I kind of realized, because you do the homework with it's unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, and there's like 6 things that your kid doesn't know how to do at the beginning of 3rd grade, and at the end of the third grade, hopefully they're going to know how to do most of them.
Yeah.
But for the kid, it's kind of like they come home and there's this homework, and I can't do this. I don't know how to do it. Why are they making me to do this stuff that I don't know how to do? And you try to tell them, well, if your homework every night was like saying the ABCs and counting to 10, then that's not a very good school. The whole point is you've got these chunks of things that you're going to struggle with, and you're just going to keep struggling with them until they either work out and you get it, or they don't, and you're going to be a sociology major. You know what I mean? And go do that. And I kind of think that, your format here about the blocks is a little bit like that, except over a lifetime,
Yeah.
That you come up against 5 or 6 things that I guess in this lifetime, I'm going to see how I do with these things. And then when it's time to go, I don't know. I either will have figured some of them out and replaced them with some new ones, or not. Peace out.